I wouldn't exactly call it a secret. Diaz has developed a reputation as a really good base stealer. The 1-2, fastball inside, throw to second, it skips in, and Diaz is safe. He's got it. Steal number 33, a new Gary South Shore RailCats franchise record.
Set a single season RailCats record with his 33rd stolen base of the year.
How about that? Loud ovation from the crowd. It's well deserved. This guy's just so fun to watch, man. And he runs like no other player in the history of this franchise.
Hello, RailCats fans, and welcome back to another edition of the RailCats Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Savetich, and we got plenty to talk about. On this podcast episode, we're going to talk about Gio Diaz's record-breaking franchise 33rd stolen base that he got against the Chicago Dogs, and I was there live to see it. It was awesome. Then going over just certain stats. I know I haven't really gone in depth in where the RailCats are placed as far as like team averages, team ERA, that kind of stuff. So we'll get in a little bit of that stuff. We'll be looking a little bit at the Chicago Dogs series, and then moving on to the Cleburne series down there in Texas. That's going to be going on 6 games. Try to get back into that, a series ends, talk about that series, a new series begins, kind of seeing where they're going from that portion of it. And then just looking at stats or more of standings and, what really needs to kind of be done. And then just random things that I've missed. So, yeah, that's what we got in today's podcast. And so, yeah, stick around for it. And I guess we're just going to lead right into the first one, which is Gio Diaz stole his 33rd base against the Chicago Dogs on the 22nd in the 4th inning, and then later on he would actually score in that one later in the inning off of a fielder's choice by Jesus Mariaga. Diaz did get on base before, and you could already see it. Like, as soon as he was getting on base, like, he was gone. He was going. I forget, I think it was in the first inning, first inning, I think it was. He got on base, and I think Del Valle was up after him, and he was like trying to go, but then it was like 2 strikes. It was kind of one of those like where he just kind of played it a little bit to where he was just, the next time I get on, I'm gonna go. So I was glad to see him do that. I was hoping to be able to see him do it. I'm glad it was happening at home. I know it really hasn't got this big, huge hype around the American Association or really in the RailCats organization. I mean, yeah, they put a little poster up and that kind of stuff, but there was no real video of it that I've seen. I mean, I posted my own. If you didn't see it, probably on Facebook or Twitter, it's probably on my Instagram. I totally forgot. For some reason, I forgot to post it on Twitter, but I do have the video. The video will be, I think I'll have both the videos up. The AA version of it and mine as well, if not vice versa. However, it's going to roll itself out into that one. But the previous record holder was Billy Brown, which was set in 2003, the second year the RailCats were in existence. So really 20 years. The record has, and 19 season because they didn't play in the 2020, the COVID season. So this record's been sitting here for a hot minute, and really to be surprised by that, just because of Greg Taggart and the way he managed for 16 years, and really when you go through the stats and all the other stuff, looking back through the RailCats history, there's only 2 other players besides Gio and Billy to reach the 30 mark threshold, and that was Adam Klein and David Cooper, who both did in the 2012 season, and that was their second year in the American Association. And if you're curious, the American Association single season record is 60 on that portion of it. But really, it's so odd to see that, based off of how Greg Taggart has made his teams. I know Lamar Rogers is now in there, but I'm just saying throughout the prime years that there really wasn't a lot of, there was a lot of stolen bases from like everyone in the team sort of deal, but like not those higher numbers. So it's just kind of weird to see, that Gio has done the 33 and we're just a little bit past that halfway point. I mean, probably closer to 3/4 than we are halfway. But the point is that 33 has been held in this franchise for 20 years, and for it to finally be broken and be broken so early is such a big I guess a big thing when you really think about it. Most people are like, oh, it doesn't really seem like that much. Yeah, you're right, 33 really isn't necessarily quite much, but in a 100-game season, you're stealing 33% of the time. Via in a game, you'll get at least like one stolen base every 33. You get the math going to that one. But yeah, that's a big one. So congratulations to Gio. I'm hoping to be able to get him on the podcast, talk to him about his base running, his ability to play the field. Being a ball magnet that he is, getting hit by the ball, being able to play wherever you want. And just really showing the numbers from the Pioneer League to the American Association of how well this player is, and his speed and his tenacity to play the game correctly is huge. And the way he just kind of controls the base path, you see it on him. He wants to go every time. And talking with Matt Brunson, that was a big thing that I took away from it, is the ability for these players just to go out and do it. So that's a huge one on that portion of it. I hope to see, I think maybe 50, maybe the next goal to kind of go towards. We'll see. Maybe he'll touch 60. Who knows? In that portion of it. But we're gonna kind of transition into looking at the stats and where they're ranked at. I'll be looking at the batting averages, slugging, OPS, ERA, walks to strikeout. The batting side more of home runs, slugging, on base percentage, that kind of stuff, and pitching's more the ERA, how many strikeouts, how many walks, that kind of stuff. So when we look here at the batting averages, the RailCats are ranked 10th at a 257. That is pretty solid through what it's kind of been. That's where kind of most everyone's at, except a handful of players. When we're just kind of looking here at the stats in general, Gio's the only one at 300, and everyone else is below that mark. Now, Castillo, Mariaga, Flera, Lingua, Castillo, Woodworth are all above. Now, Woodworth, I know, had that concussion. He got hit, and he might be out. We don't know how long he's going to be out, but that was a rough hit that he took. But outside of that, there really hasn't been too much to kind of really say, hey, yeah, this team, it's kind of been the same thing. At the beginning of the year, it was front loaded with the crazy batting averages that Gio was having, that Castillo was having, Mariaga, Woodworth, Lingua. I mean, they were the brunt force to the success early on, and the numbers have kind of come down a little bit and even itself out. And I just don't know if that's just kind of been the trying to put too much on your plate because no one else has kind of been in that producing role. And I mean, that's the one thing that I've seen from this team, is that it's not so much that they can't get on base. And I want to get through these stats. It I guess I should have took the stats when they were on that hot streak and see where they're at now, because it kind of contradicts itself a little bit to when I say this. But it seems like the opportunities aren't there when they really needed to. When you have a guy in third or a guy in first, and you're just not getting them over, you're not getting them in, that kind of stuff. Unlucky hits, or unlucky ground or double plays, hit and runs, that kind of stuff. Sometimes that plays a little bit of factor, but I think what really has been, I know when I started kind of keeping the on base, how many times the RailCats leave, a player on base was huge compared to what it is now, or whatever what I'm saying. How should I word this? The way that the RailCats have left players on. The clutch hitting really hasn't been there. I think that's been a big factor with this team. It's not this team that it's not that this team doesn't have the talent, because they do. It just seems like when they get their opportunities, they just can't get over that hump. Now, is that because they're one of the youngest teams in the league? I would say so. You have young players that don't, not saying they don't understand the game, but a lot of it's individualized. You get a young player who just gets released from a AAA or trying to make a name for themselves. They're not going to quite understand, what needs to be done in the matter of fact of let the game come to you, let the scouts come to you, let those people come to you. You play the game correctly, the rest of the stuff will follow. I mean, that's anything really to do with life. If you just do everything that you're told that you're supposed to do correctly, everything will fall in line. Yes, you're gonna have your ebbs and flows, your ups and downs. You're gonna feel, that you can't do it or whatever the case may be. But I just think it's one of those that this team just needs to kind of take itself and look itself in the mirror and say, you know what, we got, these last handful of games left. We're almost at the 3/4 mark. Let's just see what we can do at this point. And I think that's what we're getting at. I know I'm kind of gone off a little tangent, but that happens. Looking at an on-base percentage, they're 11th with a 340, slugging 11th, a 362, an OPS 11th, 702, home runs. They're last at 35. Like, that just hasn't been there. If you were going to say what is the biggest shell shock of this team this year, I would say that where they're at in home runs. 35th in home runs. That is not one place I would expect them to be. Now, has the roster really shifted? Yeah. You don't have Sam Abbott anymore, who hit those 20 home runs last year that really helped that delivery. I don't think you really got what you needed out of Paulino and Tapia and Mondesi. Del Valle, has been in there. Nova's helped out with that. I mean, I guess Tapia in the 29 games he's played, he had 6 home runs. You're not getting those power numbers that you were quite getting, last year. And I think that's been a bit of a big shell shock to this team, in that, this roster was kind of constructed to be a more power friendly team than a more of a hit and run, the style that we've kind of seen them play. But you kind of look back and you look at the productive players, the Gio, the Castillo, Mariaga, Lingua, all of them are more power hitting is great and everything, but it's more of that power in the sense of being able to hit the ball solidly into the gaps, not so much home runs. And I understand that you play at the steel yard and the power numbers aren't going to be quite there that you necessarily want to see. But sometimes when you watch the other teams and they're cranking balls over the fence, and you're just like, why can't they do this? I think that's been the biggest shell shock from this team on that portion of it. They are tied for third with 103 steals. That's actually going against Cleburne. They're all tied at 103 at that portion of it. Kind of looking at the pitching, and the RailCats have gotten a lot of flack for their pitching, but when you really look at their stats for their pitching, it really tells the story of what most people have seen if you watch the RailCats. And now the pitching encompasses the whole nature of the beast, not just bits and pieces of it. But I'm just saying that they really said that the starting rotation really has been the downfall for the RailCats, and a lot of This Week in Association, the Indie Ball Report, they've been saying that this has kind of been the downfall. It really isn't the starting pitching. You kind of have to look at the relief pitching. We're just going to throw it out there and make it what it is. On Friday, Harrison Francis pitches a gem of a game, and Jarrett Price comes in and it fumbles, and it all falls apart. It just doesn't seem, it's just one of those that things are there, and it just good outings turn into bad outings because someone comes in and blunders an opportunity. And it's not so much that the pitching staff is horrible. It just seems like a lot of the times when bad thing, it's not necessarily bad things happen to the same person over. Not every time you put the player out that they're the ones that are having the bad outing over and over. It's just like it rolls into one another. Jared Price can pitch three outings really good, and then that fourth one, it is terrible, and that's okay. It's just that the timing of everything never leads out, because the issue is that the offense isn't quite there to help out the defense or the pitching staff when they blunder anything. It's the same thing with, like, if they make a mistake on the field. It seems like the pitchers are the ones that kind of take this kind of issue to it. It's like the mental capacity quite isn't necessarily there, and I think that's a big thing about being a pitcher, is being able to mentally prepare yourself for all kinds of solutions to just go out there and pitch. I mean, we saw it on Sunday. Vivas wasn't really having the best game necessarily, and Lamar Rogers kind of was like, oh, we're gonna do a pitching change here. But no, Lamar Rogers came out and was like, this is basically you have to figure this out. Like, this, no one else is gonna save you from this situation. And that's just basically how it has to be. It's you can't let the mistakes hurt the outcome of the game necessarily. And it just kind of seems how that works in that situation. You give up one walk leads to two walks lead to a hit leads to 4 more runs coming, and it just kind of seems to snow pile a little bit, and it's just about trying to get rid of that snow pile is the big thing with this team. But looking at the pitching here, so how it's sort of kind of ranked to a certain extent is like the ERA and stuff like that. It's from lowest to highest, so it's ranked for, if a team had a 1.1 and a team had a 2.2, the 1.1 would be ranked first. And so, because sometimes that's how I'm ranking it necessarily. So the RailCats are fifth at a 488. Batting average against is a 264, which is 7th in the league. A whip of 154, which is 8th in the league. They have the 5th most strikeouts at 483. Most walks at 10, so 263. So the way I have it ranked is it's not like they're 10th in the league. Let's just say, for example, Kansas City has only given up 100 walks. They're ranked number 1. And then, that's how I have it ranked. It's more or less the least amount of walks is number 1, and the most amount is lower down you go on that tier. I know it kind of, sometimes I don't know if that made sense, but it makes sense in my head of how I constructed it. So I mean, that's really, when you kind of look at that aspect of it, it's kind of hard. It's a little rough on that portion of it. Moving to the dog series, the RailCats dropped 3 out of 4. They were outscored 20-10. The team batting average was 232. Just kind of looking here, I may have missed a couple things are here that I tried something different necessarily. Langlois went 4 for 14 or 15. Diaz went 1 for 13. Valera went 6 for 14 with 2 RBIs. Mariaga went 3 for 13 with 2 RBIs. Castillo went 1 for 8. Davaya went 3 for 14, 3 RBIs, 1 home run. That all kind of came together on a 3-run blast. Cadell went 3 for 10. Nova went 3 for 11, 2 RBIs, 1 home run. Decker went 1 for 8, and Contreras went 1 for 6. When you kind of look at that, and you see a lot of the 1s and the 3s, and you see the 1s combined with the 13s, or the 1s combined with the 8s, like that, obviously you're not giving yourself an opportunity, and these are the points, the point in time to where you have to kind of take those opportunities and kind of run with it. Looking here at the first game where they lost 8-5 on that Thursday, that was Thursday, not Friday, that I thought that with the Jared Price, but I was correct on what happened, just not the date. So it was Thursday where Harrison Francis pitched 5 innings. gave up 2 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. And Jared Price came in, didn't complete his outing, and he gave up 4 runs on 1 hit, 3 walks. Phillips came in, he gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, which both weren't earned. Matt Leon came in, he just gave up the 1 hit. Valdez gave up a run and a hit. Then Eisenbarger gave up 2 hits and a run, which wasn't earned towards him on that one. So, it's just one of those where you look at this, and you're like, yeah, the relief pitching is kind of hurt. And I think that's kind of been the story to a certain extent all year, is that the starting pitching does come in and they do really successful, and the bullpen just isn't. It's just the consistency between the two. I can understand why teams or not teams, other teams that are covering the league or leagues would say, hey, it's really been the off or the pitching staff that's really hurt this team, and I don't necessarily think that's the case. Yeah, you lost 8-5, but it's just one of those, like, and then you go in the next game on the Friday, you lost 5-2. Like, you're only going to be able to muster up so much, only 8 hits. And the Dogs had 8 hits, but you're just the amount of runs coming in aren't as much necessarily, not coming into those key situations. So looking at that Friday, Cuello came in, he gave up 4 hits, or he pitched 6 1/3 inning, gave up 4 runs, 6 hits, 3 earned, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. And then the bullpen came in and they kind of shut the door on the rest of that. You gave up 4 runs. That's going to be average. Like I said, if you're at 4 and under, really that's what your goal is. That's kind of what you're looking for right there. I think anywhere from a mid 3 to low 4 is kind of the range that you want to be in. So your offense has to at least score you 5 runs. Like I've said this plenty of times. I don't know if I said this on a podcast, but if your team, if you give up 3 to 4 runs a game and your offense doesn't score you 5 or 6, then that's on the offense. But if you're giving up 5 or 6 runs a game, then that's a little bit on the pitching staff there. And it always seems it's kind of one of those that, like, the pitching staff will give up a handful of runs, but like the offense just quite isn't there to help push that over the edge and keep some of these games closer than it needs to be. I don't know if that's just something to do with maybe the pitch clock has kind of helped out that situation. Like I said, I haven't seen I think at the beginning of the year we had quite a bit of blowouts, but I really haven't necessarily seen a lot of blowouts. I don't think that I think that has a product to do with the pitching clock, just because there's no really time to think, and you can't just go out there and be like, the pitchers don't have time to you give up a home run, and they don't have 3 minutes to think about it. They have 30 seconds, you got to turn around and throw the ball. Like, I think that kind of helps out a little bit of that mindset. Or if you have a bad at bat, or you're having a bad at bat, sometimes I don't think those are necessarily that's going to dig in your head. You don't have that time to collect yourself and say, okay, how do I fix this? It's just I just got to do it. And I think that's kind of helped out a little bit. Now I think that that's just games that I've seen here. I don't know how you're going to classify a blowout. A blowout to me is those 8-1, 10-0 kind of games, those where you're scoring more than 7 runs, and it's completely dominant through the entire game necessarily. And I don't think I've never necessarily seen a lot of that this year with the RailCats in that portion of it. Then going into the Saturday win, the rain shortened game. John Sheeks pitched phenomenally. He gave up 4 hits, no runs earned, no runs at all, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. He was an absolute stud. He was dealing. They just needed 2 runs, but it's just one of those things where it's so hard to say, if the game wasn't shortened, you're going to the bullpen. Would the bullpen be able to withstand what was coming after that against them? And it's just one of those that, like, there's no reliability is what I feel sometimes. There's just no reliability to any of, like, the relief role or anything like that. Just sometimes it kind of hesitant a little bit to that portion. looking here, and then yesterday's game, the 7-1 game, Chris Irwin coming back from an injury. He only pitched 2 innings, which I believe that was, they're not going to give me how many pitches he pitched. He only pitched 39, so I'm not quite sure, how he was feeling. I know Chuck told me that he was slated for 60, so I don't know quite how he's feeling, but I mean, in the 2 innings that he played, he pitched very well. He gave up 1 hit, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Vivas comes in and he gives up 3 walks, 3 hits, 2 runs scored. It was the first time I've seen Bentis come into the game. He pitched 2/3 inning, gave up 1 hit, 1 run, 2 earned, 2 walks. He has flaws, and we've seen that. We've known about his flaws, and it was kind of portrayed here in this situation. But I just don't think it was one of the. This really wasn't one of these. Were one of the games you just kind of rip up and you just throw out. It really what it came down to is you just rip it up and throw it out. Now moving on to the Cleburne series. When we look here at the standings as it falls right now, the Gary South Shore RailCats are last in the East Division at 26-36. The Cleburne Railroaders are second in the East, 32-31. This could be a huge 6 games. I really think this right here is going to make or break the RailCats. I really, really do. I think this is one of those that it comes down to when we look here at the schedule, you're this is the last time you're gonna play Cleburne, and then you face Sioux Falls and Sioux City all at home. You see Chicago again. You've seen King County. I just think that if you're able to catch a fire here, if you're able to win 4 out of 6 here, and then you feel good about yourselves going into Sioux Falls and Sioux City, or going back home and playing Sioux Falls and Sioux City, they've done pretty decent against the West to a certain extent. I know there's been a couple blunders here and there, but majority of the time the West has kind of been a little bit in favor of the RailCats, not a huge bit, but a bit. Just taking these next 6 games and saying, you know what, we just got to go out here, we got to do our best, because this is 6 games that you're closer to the end, and if you're not productive with it, we need a 6-game winning streak, a 7-game, kind of get yourselves back into a situation, and Cleburne's coming off of basically dominating the West. They going back until before the All-Star break, when they started against the West Division here, they took 4 out of 6 against Fargo. They lost the series against Lincoln. Sioux City took a lot, 5 of 6. Cleburne or Winnipeg, they split. They went 3-3. So I guess I should take that. I thought it looked a lot more Cleburne favored in that one. So they just got off of beating Kansas City, who technically right now is I didn't want the East. I just want the league standings. Who's first? Tied with the Milkmen, first overall. I know they went in a bit of a blunder, a tad bit, but this is another opportunity. Yeah, you're gonna play Texas. It's gonna be hot. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. But these are huge games to take, because if you can take 6, 4 or 6 or 5 or 6, that's going to put you in a better situation. I think Chuck has mentioned, well, I think, you need about 25 wins. That would put you where you're at. But the big thing is just that you have to take series. At this point, it's just about taking series. It's about taking 4 out of 6 here. It's about taking 2 or 3 or 3 or 4. Like, there can't be any splits, and there can't be any losing streaks or anything like that. You gotta be able to put some series wins together. You gotta be able to put you're gonna need maybe 2, at minimum 1 sweep. 2 would be very nice if you can get some sweeps in there to really help out and not get swept. That's a huge thing, is not to lose series and not get swept. And it's gonna be very hard against the Cleburne team, where when you look at when they played the last time, I mean, Cleburne took it 5 out of 6, basically dominating the RailCats, and you just can't let that happen. And a little bit, it's been a high scoring. There was one, an 18-run game, a 15-run game, a 22-run game. Like, they've been crazy games. They've been crazy games for a while, and I think that's just the way those two teams will play. They play wide open. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very fun series, but a very nerve-wracking series coming forward onto this. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I don't think I have it out. Do I? No. Oh, yeah, I do. If you're unaware, they did change a bit of the balls. Brandon actually pointed it out on Twitter. But when you look at the 2 differences here, this is the one that I got yesterday. It's got the American Association little thingy on it, the logo. But then on the one that I got before Jimmy Garrigan hit the grand slam, that ball, it doesn't have it on there. So that's a little bit of a change. It was kind of funny because I went over, I fielded it, and my wife's like, "Oh, I'll just give it to kid." I'm like, "Well, 1, Gio hit it, and 2, luckily I kept it because it's a different ball." Sorry for that fan that I stole a ball away. I didn't steal a ball away, but didn't give him a ball. Which leads me to my next thing. I think this is more of a parental advice, or parental. I don't have kids, so I can't really necessarily give parental advice, but I think it's a parental warning. On Sunday, there was a kid who was on the first base side. Ball was bouncing. It was a hit. It bounced right at him, hit him in the face, blood everywhere. No matter how good you may think your child is at playing baseball, protect your children. That's all I gotta say. Just protect your children. Yeah, just protect your children. That's all I gotta say. It always nerves me that they don't have a fencing up. Protecting the berm, because that's where all the kids want to play, is that berm. I don't know how many incidents like that happen every year, probably slim to none. But just be cautious with your children, so we don't see more kids get hit in the face. That's all I got on that portion of it. But yeah, just over 30 minutes. Try to keep it a little bit shorter. But yeah, the next let's see here. The next podcast will probably come after the Cleburne series, so probably next week on Monday. I'll have another one come out when we talk about the 6-game homestand against Sioux Falls and Sioux Cities, but we'll talk about Sioux Falls and all that good stuff and see where we're at that point. I will keep posting in the morning or mid-afternoonish the standings to see where the RailCats lie, just so everyone's kind of aware of what the situation is. I know everyone can go to the AA Baseball TV or AA Baseball website and do all that, get a point streak, that kind of stuff, but it's just something for me to do. Okay, just it gives me something to do. But yeah, if there's anything else you want me to cover or try to start getting into a little bit, just say it down in the comments below. That good fun stuff. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for me. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You should be able to find most of my podcast on YouTube or anywhere you find podcasts, except I think Podbean and Apple. I've been having issues with Apple. So yeah, outside of that, you mostly get it wherever you get your podcasts. If not, and you want me to upload somewhere else, I will. I mean, I just wherever, you know, if it's on YouTube, obviously I'm gonna stay on YouTube and other stuff. But if there's a podcast platform that you want me to put this on, I'll sure as heck try to do it. But that's it. It's gonna wrap it up for me. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening, whenever you're watching this. And go Cats.
The 0-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Wrap this one up in green and white.